Captain Lisa Morgan stood at the viewport of the U.S. Venture, watching the stars streak by as the ship traveled faster than light. After decades of research and failed attempts, humans had finally mastered FTL travel just 3 years ago. Now they were heading to meet the Galactic Council. "Captain, we'll reach the meeting point in 20 minutes, said Lieutenant Steve Clark from his station. Lisa nodded and straightened her uniform. This mission would change human history forever. Earth had received the invitation to join the Galactic Council 6 months ago. The message came through a probe that appeared in orbit around Jupiter. At first, many thought it was a trick or a threat. But the truth was even more shocking. Humans were not alone, and the galaxy had been watching them for a long time. "Ambassador Hayes wants to meet with the team before arrival," said Communications Officer Olivia Grant. "He's in the conference room now." Lisa took a deep breath. "Tell him I'll be right there." She took one last look at the stars and headed to the meeting. In the conference room, Ambassador John Hayes stood before a small group. He was 62 years old with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen many Earth conflicts come and go. The United Nations had chosen him to represent all of humanity. "Captain Morgan, glad you could join us," Hayes said with a smile. "I was just reminding everyone of our mission." Around the table sat the core diplomatic team. Dr. Patricia Kelly, an expert in biology who would study the alien species; Alan White, the science officer who understood the new faster-than-light drive better than anyone; Samantha Mills, the security chief whose calm nature had saved lives in past conflicts; and Kevin Rodriguez, the chief engineer who could fix almost anything. "As I was saying," Hayes continued, "we don't know much about these aliens or why they've invited us now. Our job is to represent Earth with dignity and establish peaceful relations." Dr. Kelly raised her hand. The message mentioned 17 different species in the Council, each with their own biology and culture. "This is the greatest scientific opportunity in human history, and potentially the greatest security risk," added Mills, her face serious. "We need to be careful. We know nothing about their weapons or intentions." Hayes nodded. "All valid points. But remember, they contacted us. That suggests peaceful intentions." Captain Morgan spoke up. "Whatever happens, the Venture and her crew are ready. We've trained for this mission for months." What none of them knew was that across the galaxy, the news of their arrival was causing panic. On the massive council station, Grand Counselor Zextrol of the Vordari Collective paced nervously. His blue scales reflected the light as he moved. "They're actually coming here. To our station?" asked Council Security Chief Mira Dex, her 4 arms crossed in worry. "We had no choice," replied Zextrol. "Either we bring them into the Council where we can wash them, or we risk them developing independently. You've seen the reports. They went from primitive combustion engines to faster-than-light travel in less than 200 years. No other species has developed that quickly." Another counselor, the plant-based thorn, shuddered, causing his leaf-like appendages to rustle. "They can survive radiation that would kill us. They can break bones and heal. They eat plants and animals. They stay awake for days without rest. They are unnatural." "They're predators," said Miradex simply. "Evolved from hunters. Precisely why we need them contained and monitored," said Zextrol. "The Observation Committee has watched Earth for 300 years. Humans fight constant wars among themselves. Imagine if they united against outside enemies. Against us." An alarm chimed softly, and all 3 aliens looked up at the display. "They're here," whispered Thorne. "The humans have arrived." Back on the Venture, Captain Morgan received the docking instructions. "This is it," she said to her crew on the bridge. "No matter what happens next, remember that we represent not just our countries, but our entire species." As the ship approached the enormous space station, none of the humans aboard realized that they weren't being welcomed as equals. They were being contained as threats. The first meeting between humanity and the Galactic Council was about to begin. and the aliens were terrified. The U.S. venture slowed as it approached the massive Galactic Council station. The structure was unlike anything humans had ever built. A spinning wheel nearly 20 miles across, with spokes connecting to a central hub. Lights of every color sparkled across its surface, and hundreds of ships moved around it like bees around a hive. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Patricia Kelly as she stood beside Captain Morgan on the bridge. Everyone stared in amazement at the view on the main screen. "Look at the size of those ships," said Lieutenant Clark, pointing to vessels that made the venture look tiny in comparison. "Some must be at least a mile long." Captain Morgan kept her face calm, but inside, she felt like a child seeing the ocean for the first time. "Docking control has sent our approach vector. Mr. Clark, take us in slowly." As the venture moved toward its assigned dock, Kevin Rodriguez studied the station's design. "Captain, their power systems are fascinating, but I'm seeing some inefficiencies. Their heat management looks primitive compared to our fusion reactors." "Note your observations, but keep them to ourselves for now," Morgan replied. "We don't want to appear critical of our hosts." The ship eased into a massive docking bay and connected with a soft thud. Ambassador Hayes straightened his tie and nodded to Captain Morgan. "Shall we greet our new galactic neighbors?" The diplomatic team gathered at the airlock. Security Chief Mills insisted on going first, her hand near her sidearm. When the door opened, they faced a delegation of 5 different alien species. The leader appeared to be an insect-like being with 4 arms and large compound eyes. It wore a flowing robe with strange symbols. "Welcome to Central Station," it said in perfect English. "I am Salax, Council Administrator. We will escort you to your quarters." Its voice came from a small device on its chest. Hayes stepped forward and bowed slightly. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we thank you for your invitation. I am Ambassador John Hayes." As Hayes introduced the team, Samantha Mills noticed how the aliens kept their distance. One creature with blue scales visibly trembled when Alan White extended his hand in greeting. The aliens declined to shake hands, explaining it was not their custom. The humans were led through wide corridors filled with strange beings. Some floated rather than walked. Others moved on many legs. The variety was overwhelming. "There are over 200 species represented on this station," explained Salax. 17 hold council seats, while others have observer status. Earth will begin as an observer. Dr. Kelly tried to contain her excitement. "How many of these species share similar biology? Are any carbon-based like humans?" "Many are carbon-based," replied Salax, its antennae twitching nervously, "though few share your specific traits." As they walked, Kevin Rodriguez noticed a group of maintenance workers struggling with a panel on the wall. Sparks flew from exposed wiring. "Looks like a power regulation issue," he said automatically. "On our ships, we use superconducting buffers to prevent those surges." The aliens stopped and stared at him. One whispered to another. "What did I say?" Rodriguez asked quietly. "Nothing wrong," said Captain Morgan. "But let's observe more before offering suggestions." Their quarters were surprisingly comfortable, with accommodations adjusted for human needs. Ambassador Hayes was pleased, but puzzled by the excessive security measures. 3 checkpoints had scanned them on the way. While the others settled in, Lieutenant Doug Palmer, a junior security officer, decided to explore the nearby corridor. He stopped when he heard voices around the corner. "They must be contained," said a harsh voice. "The Council cannot allow humans free movement. Their physical capabilities alone make them dangerous." "The observation reports are clear," replied another voice. "They can survive wounds that would kill most species. They require little sleep. They consume substances that would poison us." "If diplomacy fails," said the first voice, "we must be prepared to neutralize this threat. The human delegation must not return to Earth if they refuse our terms." Palmer backed away silently and hurried to report to Chief Mills. In the main quarters, Ambassador Hayes was reviewing his opening remarks for tomorrow's council meeting. He looked up as Palmer entered with Mills. "Ambassador," said Mills gravely, "we have a situation. The aliens didn't invite us here to welcome us. They're afraid of us," added Palmer, "and some are already discussing how to neutralize us if necessary." Hayes set down his notes. "It seems our first contact is more complicated than we thought. Captain Morgan needs to hear this immediately." Captain Morgan listened carefully as Lieutenant Palmer reported what he had overheard. Her face remained calm, but her mind raced with questions. The entire human team had gathered in their common room, making sure no recording devices were present. "Are you certain about their words? Neutralize could mean many things," she asked. Palmer nodded firmly. "Yes, Captain. They specifically mentioned not allowing us to return to Earth if we don't agree to their terms." Ambassador Hayes paced the room. "This changes everything. We came here expecting a welcome, but it seems we're walking into a trap." "But why?" asked Dr. Kelly. "What could they possibly fear from us? Their technology is clearly more advanced." Alan White, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Maybe not in all ways. Rodriguez already noticed their power systems are less efficient than ours." Rodriguez nodded. "And did you notice their artificial gravity? It fluctuates slightly when we walk. Our systems are much more stable." "That's not enough reason to fear us," said Mills. "There must be something else." Dr. Kelly opened her tablet and reviewed her notes. "I've been studying the medical scans they took when we arrived. They seemed extremely interested in our healing abilities and our endurance." "Explain," Morgan requested. "Well, I asked one of the medical officers about their healing times. A broken bone for most council species takes the equivalent of 6 to 8 Earth months to heal. For us, it's weeks. They find this disturbing." "That's not all," added White. "I was talking with a scientist from that gas-breathing species, the Hoven. He was shocked that humans typically need only 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Apparently, most species require 12 to 15 hours of rest cycles." Hayes sat down heavily. "So they see us as some kind of super beings. That's ridiculous." Palmer shook his head. "Not super beings, sir. Threats." The room fell silent as they processed this information. Then a soft chime indicated someone at their door. Mills moved to answer it, hand near her weapon. Outside stood Grand Counselor Zex Troll, the blue-scaled alien they had seen earlier. He was alone. "Ambassador Hayes, Captain Morgan," he said with a slight bow. "May I enter? I believe we need to speak privately." After a quick security scan, they'd allowed him in. The alien seemed nervous, his scales shifting color slightly. "I am aware that your security officer overheard a concerning conversation," Zex Troll said directly. "I came to explain before misunderstandings escalate." Hayes gestured to a seat. "We're listening." Zex Troll declined to sit. "What you must understand is that many council species have never encountered a species like humans before. You are unique." "Dangerous, you mean," said Morgan flatly. "From our perspective, yes," admitted the alien. "Consider the facts. Humans heal at rates our medical science considers impossible. You can survive extreme temperature ranges. You can continue functioning with minimal rest. You developed from primitive technology to space travel in mere thousands of years, while most species took tens of thousands. Those are advantages, not threats," argued Hayes. "And then there is your history," continued Zex Troll as if Hayes hadn't spoken. "Your planet has been under observation for 3 centuries. In that time, you have had countless wars, developed increasingly deadly weapons, and pushed your own planet's ecosystem to the brink." Dr. Kelly leaned forward. "But we've also created art, music, literature. We've worked to preserve species, to heal our planet." "Yes," said Zex Troll. "That is the paradox that divides the Council. Half see you as dangerous predators who must be contained. The other half see potential allies with unique abilities." "And which side are you on?" asked Morgan. The alien's scales rippled. "I was undecided. That is why I arranged for this meeting and insisted you be brought to the station. I needed to see humans myself. And now that you have, Hayes pressed. Now I am more concerned than ever, said Zextral honestly, because you detected our fears immediately, adapted to our station faster than expected, and show no signs of the fear most new species exhibit upon first contact. What happens now? Asked Morgan. Tomorrow you will address the full council. They will vote on Earth's status. But know this, many already fear you not as equals, but as predators among prey. The reception hall buzzed with activity as beings from across the galaxy gathered. Elaborate decorations hung from the high ceiling, and servers carried strange foods and drinks on floating trays. The human delegation entered together, dressed in their best formal wear. Remember, be polite but alert, Captain Morgan whispered to her team. We're being watched closely. Ambassador Hayes led them forward, smiling and nodding to various aliens. Some nodded back, while others moved away quickly. The hall was massive, with different environmental zones for species that needed special atmospheres or gravity. Ambassador Hayes called a voice. They turned to see Administrator Xalax approaching. May I introduce you to some key council representatives? For the next hour, Hayes and the team met dozens of alien delegates. Dr. Kelly was fascinated by their diversity. Some breathed methane, others had multiple brains, and one species communicated through color changes in their skin. This is incredible, she whispered to Alan White. Look at that delegation with the crystal exoskeletons. Focus, Patricia, White reminded her. We're not just scientists today. We're representing Earth. Across the room, Rodriguez was speaking with a group of engineers from 3 different species. They seemed genuinely interested in human technology. So your fusion reactors don't use magnetic containment? Asked a small green alien with 6 eyes. Not exactly, Rodriguez explained. We developed quantum field containment about 20 years ago. It's more stable and uses less energy. The aliens exchanged glances, and Rodriguez realized he might have said too much. Meanwhile, Samantha Mills stood near a massive column watching the crowd. She noticed several military officials from different species observing the humans closely. Her training told her these weren't casual observers, but security assessments. A loud crash interrupted the reception. A tall, spindly alien had collapsed under a heavy decorative arch that had fallen. Without thinking, Mills rushed over and lifted the metal structure. It was heavy, at least 200 pounds, but her training and Earth's stronger gravity made it manageable. The room fell silent as she helped the alien up. She didn't realize that what she had done was shocking to the observers. For their species, such weight would require mechanical assistance. Are you hurt? She asked the tall alien. I am. Unharmed, it replied, staring at her with 3 wide eyes. You lifted that alone. Just doing my job, Mills said with a smile, unaware of the whispers spreading through the room. Near the drink table, Dr. Kelly was sampling a blue liquid that the server had assured her was safe for humans. What the server didn't know was that the drink contained compounds toxic to most species. Kelly drank it with no ill effects, causing several nearby aliens to step back in alarm. Delicious, she said. Reminds me of blueberries. Captain Morgan noticed the growing tension and moved to Hayes' side. I think we're causing quite a stir without trying, she murmured. Hayes nodded. Time for my speech, I believe. Perhaps words can bridge what these misunderstandings are creating. A soft tone rang out, and the room quieted. Grand Counselor Zextral stood on a raised platform. Honored delegates, he began. Today we welcome representatives from Earth, a planet many of you have heard about but few have visited. Ambassador Hayes will address us. Hayes walked confidently to the platform. The entire human team noticed how aliens stepped aside to create a wide path for him. Distinguished members of the Galactic Council, Hayes began, I bring greetings from Earth and all humanity. We come in peace and friendship, eager to learn from you and share our knowledge. As he spoke about cooperation and mutual respect, Hayes could see the mixed reactions. Some delegates nodded in agreement, while others whispered to each other with expressions that seemed doubtful or worried. Humanity has had its struggles and made its mistakes, Hayes continued honestly. But we have also created beauty, sought knowledge, and looked to the stars with hope. We do not come as conquerors, but as explorers and potential friends. What Hayes didn't know was that a group of Council security officials were meeting in a room nearby, discussing contingency plans if the human situation became dangerous. And across the station, a more radical faction was already putting their own plan into motion, one that would test exactly how dangerous humans could be. Lieutenant Palmer couldn't sleep. The strange noises of the station kept him alert, and his mind raced with worries about the aliens' intentions. He got up and checked the security systems Rodriguez had set up in their quarters. Something didn't feel right. The scanner showed movement in the service corridor behind their rooms. 4 heat signatures moved slowly toward the environmental controls for the human quarters. Palmer quickly woke Mills. "Chief, we have company." Mills was instantly alert. "Wake the captain." No alarms yet. Within minutes, Morgan, Hayes, and the security team were gathered in the common room, watching the scanner. The 4 figures had reached the environmental panel and were opening it. "They could be doing maintenance," suggested Hayes. "At this hour, after what we've learned." Morgan shook her head. "I don't think so." Mills checked her sidearm. "Palmer and I will investigate. Standard protocol, non-lethal approach." The 2 security officers slipped into the hallway and moved quickly to a service door. Using the emergency override codes Salax had provided, they entered the narrow maintenance corridor. 50 feet ahead, 4 aliens worked at an open panel. Even in the dim light, Palmer could see they were tampering with the air system that fed into the human quarters. "Station security," Mills called out. "Step away from the panel." The aliens spun around, clearly startled. One pulled out a device and fired. A dart hit the wall near Palmer's head. Another alien rushed toward Mills, wielding the tool like a club. What happened next would become legendary in Council security reports. Mills sidestepped the charging alien with ease and disabled him with a simple wrist lock. Palmer moved so quickly the second alien had no time to fire again before being disarmed. The remaining 2 attackers fled, but not before Mills captured images of them with her comm unit. "Captain, we've stopped what appears to be sabotage of our life support," Mills reported. 2 suspects in custody, 2 escaped. Within an hour, the human quarters buzzed with activity. Captain Morgan had called Administrator Xalex and Grand Counselor Zextrol to explain the situation. The captured aliens were being held in a makeshift cell. "This is outrageous," Hayes said, his diplomat's calm finally breaking. "We come in peace, and someone tries to kill us in our sleep." Zextrol's scales had turned a pale blue. This was not authorized by the Council. These must be members of the Preservation Alliance, a radical group that believes non-Council species should be kept away from galactic affairs. Morgan stood tall, her voice firm. "Counselor, we've been patient. We've tolerated being treated like dangerous animals. But this crosses a line." "What were they doing to our air system?" Dr. Kelly asked, examining the panel with Rodriguez. Rodriguez looked grim. "They were adding a compound that would have reacted with nitrogen to create a gas harmful to humans, but harmless to most Council species. It would have looked like an accident, a compatibility issue with our biology." Zextrol seemed genuinely shocked. "Ambassador, Captain, I assure you this will be investigated at the highest levels." "That's not enough," Hayes said. "I demand to address the full Council immediately, not tomorrow, not in a scheduled session. Now." Zalex's antennae twitched nervously. "That's not protocol. The Council cannot be assembled without." "Without what?" Morgan interrupted. "Without giving those who want us dead time to try again. Without letting the real culprits hide their involvement." Hayes stepped forward. "Either we address the Council now, or the Venture leaves this station immediately. And Earth will know the Galactic Council tried to murder its representatives." The ultimatum hung in the air. Zextrol and Salax exchanged glances. "Very well," Zextrol said finally. "I will call an emergency session. The full council will convene in 1 hour." After the aliens left, Morgan turned to her team. "This is the moment that will define humanity's place among the stars. Hayes, prepare what you'll say carefully. The rest of you, be ready for anything." Mills nodded toward their captives. "What about them?" "Bring them," Morgan said. "The council should see the faces of those who would murder guests under protection of diplomatic law." As they prepared to face the council, none of them realized that across the galaxy, a crisis was unfolding that would change everything. The council chamber was massive, with seats arranged in rising circles around a central speaking platform. Representatives from all 17 council species sat in their designated areas. Many observer species filled the upper levels. The atmosphere was tense as the human delegation entered. Ambassador Hayes walked to the center platform, flanked by Captain Morgan and Chief Mills, who brought the 2 captured saboteurs. The aliens murmured at the sight of prisoners being brought into the sacred chamber. "This is unprecedented," said a tall, willowy alien with glowing spots on its skin. "So it is attempted murder of diplomatic guests," Hayes replied, his voice carrying through the chamber. "These individuals were caught tampering with our life support systems." Grand Counselor Zextrol called for order. "Ambassador Hayes has requested this emergency session after a serious incident. The council will hear him." Hayes looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many aliens as possible. "Distinguished council members, less than 1 day after our arrival, some among you decided humans are too dangerous to live. These saboteurs would have killed us in our sleep, making it look like an accident." The chamber erupted in voices. Some denied knowledge, others demanded proof. Zextrol raised all 4 of his hands for silence. "We have evidence," said Hayes, nodding to Rodriguez, who projected video of the sabotage attempt. "But this is merely a symptom of a deeper problem. You invited us here under false pretenses. You fear us, yet you didn't have the courage to be honest about it. Can you blame us?" called out a reptilian alien. "Your species shows predator traits not seen in any council race. You heal at alarming rates. Your endurance is unnatural. Your technology advances faster than should be possible." Morgan stepped forward. "So you decided to kill us rather than talk to us. Is this the justice of your Galactic Council?" As the debate intensified, a junior officer rushed into the chamber and handed a datapad to Xalax. The administrator's antennae went rigid with alarm. He quickly moved to Zextrol and whispered urgently. Zextrol's scales turned almost white. He raised his hands again for silence. "Council members, I have just received disturbing news. The Krax Empire has launched an attack on the Pelari colony in the Vega sector. Early reports indicate civilian casualties are high." The chamber fell silent, then exploded with voices again. Hayes looked to Morgan, confused. "The Krax are not council members," Zextrol explained for the humans' benefit. "They are an aggressive species that has rejected all diplomatic contact. They have been raiding border systems for years, but never on this scale." "How many people are in danger?" asked Morgan. "The Pelari colony has nearly 4 million inhabitants," said a small furry alien with large eyes. "Our defense fleet is 3 days away at maximum speed." 3 days? Hayes was shocked. "How is that possible? The Pelari will be slaughtered. Our faster-than-light technology has different limitations than yours," explained Zextrol. "Our ships cannot change course once at FTL speeds. The fleet must drop to normal space, reorient, then resume FTL travel." Hayes and Morgan exchanged glances. The captain nodded slightly. "The Venture can reach Pelari in 12 hours, Morgan said. "Our FTL drive allows course changes mid-flight." The council chamber went completely silent. "You would help?" asked Zextrol, his voice full of disbelief. Hayes stepped forward again. "Despite your fear of us, despite the attempt on our lives, yes, we offer our help because that's what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves." "This could be a trick," said the reptilian alien. "They could join with the cracks." Dr. Kelly laughed. "If we wanted to attack you, why would we need the cracks? You've made it clear you think we're dangerous enough on our own." Captain Morgan addressed the council directly. "Every minute we debate, people die. The Venture is armed and can at least evacuate some civilians. Make your choice, counselor." Sextral looked around the chamber, then at the humans. The entire council held its breath. "Captain Morgan, the council accepts your offer of assistance," he said finally. "But understand, if this is some human deception, it will mean war with the entire Galactic Council." "No deception," Morgan replied. "Just humanity showing you what we're really capable of." As the human team left to prepare the Venture, whispers followed them. The aliens who had feared humans as predators now watched them go to face a real enemy. And for the first time, many began to wonder if human predator traits might be exactly what the peaceful council needed. The U.S. Venture dropped out of FTL travel near the Pelari colony with a flash of light. Captain Morgan stood on the bridge, surveying the situation on the main screen. 3 large Krax warships orbited the green-blue planet below. Smaller attack ships darted between them and the surface. "Status report," Morgan ordered. "Krax vessels have established orbital control," reported Lieutenant Clark. "They've destroyed the colony's defensive satellites and our landing ground forces. The colony's main city is under heavy attack." "Life signs?" Morgan asked. "Thousands of colonists are gathered in the central shelter," said Dr. Kelly, reading from her station. "Krax forces are moving toward it." The Venture had made the journey in just 11 hours. Only Ambassador Hayes and 2 council observers had joined the human crew. The rest of the diplomatic team remained at the council station as a show of good faith. "Open a channel to the Krax command ship," Morgan ordered. When the connection was established, a harsh-looking alien appeared on screen. The Krax had thick gray skin, no visible nose, and yellow eyes with vertical pupils. Its voice was deep and grating. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Krax territory. Withdraw or be destroyed." "This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the Earth ship Venture. This is not Krax territory, but a peaceful colony under council protection. Cease your attack and withdraw your forces." The Krax commander made a sound like grinding stones. "Council protection means nothing. Their ships are days away. By then, this world will be ours." "We're not council," Morgan said simply. "We're human, and we're already here." She cut the transmission. "Battle stations. Rodriguez, I need options for the colony shields." "Their shield generators are damaged but not destroyed," Rodriguez said, studying the data. "If I can modify our shield harmonics to match theirs, we might be able to extend our shields to cover the main city temporarily." "Do it," Morgan ordered. "Lieutenant Palmer, prepare a ground team. The colonists need help evacuating. The Krax have begun targeting us," Clark warned. 3 attack ships approaching." Morgan smiled grimly. "Let's show them why the Council finds us so frightening." The Venture's weapon systems were designed for defense, not conquest, but they were powerful and precise. Within minutes, the 3 Krax attack ships had been disabled without being destroyed. "A warning shot," Morgan explained to the shocked council observers. "We don't kill when we don't have to." Below on the planet's surface, the situation was dire. Palmer led a team of 20 crew members to the colony's main city. They found the Pelari, small 4-armed beings with iridescent skin, huddled in fear as Krax troops advanced. "We need to hold that line until the civilians can reach the emergency shelters," Palmer told his team. "Non-lethal force when possible, but protect the colonists at all costs." What happened next would be talked about for years throughout the Council worlds. The human team moved with speed and coordination that seemed impossible to the watching Pelari. While most Council species specialized in either strength or agility, humans had both. The security team outmaneuvered the larger Krax soldiers, using the terrain and teamwork to their advantage. In orbit, the Venture extended its shields to protect the main settlement while engaging the Crack's warships. Rodriguez worked without rest, making adjustments to keep the shield stable. "Captain, I've been awake for 36 hours straight," he reported casually while replacing a burnt-out circuit. "I could use some coffee, but otherwise I'm fine." The Council observers watched in amazement. Their species needed rest cycles every few hours. "How long can humans function without sleep?" one asked quietly. "In emergencies, days," Morgan replied, not taking her eyes off the tactical display. "It's not good for us, but we can do it when lives depend on it." By the time the Cracks realized they were facing a serious threat, Palmer's team had evacuated thousands of Pilari to underground shelters. Dr. Kelly had set up a field hospital and was treating wounded colonists with techniques the Pilari doctors had never seen. "You can regenerate nerve tissue?" a Pilari doctor asked in astonishment. "Standard procedure," Kelly replied, working on a wounded child. "Now please hand me that tissue regenerator." In space, the Crack's commander faced a decision. The easy conquest he had expected had turned into a real fight. His attack ships were disabled, and the strange human vessel showed no signs of retreating. "Perhaps," he growled to his officers, "this colony is not worth the trouble after all." 3 days after the Venture arrived at Pilari, the Council Defense Fleet finally reached the colony. They expected to find destruction and grief. Instead, they found the Cracks gone, and the colony recovering with remarkable speed. The fleet commander, an elderly Vordari named Praz Kar, was escorted to the colony's main administrative building. There he found Captain Morgan, Ambassador Hayes, and the Pilari governor in deep discussion around a table covered with plans. "I do not understand," Trazkar said, looking around in confusion. "Where are the Cracks? How did you defeat their warships?" Morgan smiled tiredly. She hadn't slept in nearly 4 days. "We didn't have to defeat them all. After we disabled 6 of their attack craft without destroying them, they realized we could have done much worse." Hayes nodded. "I opened negotiations, told them that humans don't seek to destroy enemies when we can make them into friends instead. That confused them enough to listen." "You negotiated with the Cracks?" Trazkar seemed unable to process this information. "No one has ever successfully communicated with them." "Perhaps no one tried the right approach," said Hayes. "They respect strength but fear annihilation. We showed them both were possible." Across the colony, human crew members worked alongside Pilari citizens to repair damage from the attack. Rodriguez had redesigned the colony's shield generators to be more efficient. Dr. Kelly had trained local medical staff in human treatment techniques. Lieutenant Palmer's security team had begun training a Pilari defense force. "Your people work without stopping," the Pilari governor said with wonder. "They eat strange stimulants to stay awake, consume toxic food without harm, and heal injuries in days that would take us months. Coffee isn't toxic to us," Morgan explained with a smile. "And we're just doing what humans do, helping where we can." The council observers who had witnessed everything sent detailed reports back to the council station. By the time the Venture prepared to return, the entire Galactic Council was buzzing with news of how the humans had saved Pilari. On the last day, a ceremony was held in the colony's central plaza. Thousands of Pilari gathered to thank the human crew. Their governor presented Captain Morgan with their highest honor, a crystal that glowed with the combined life energy of all the colonists who had volunteered a small portion. "In 4 days, you have changed how we see the universe," the governor said. "We feared the Cracks for generations. We feared you for your differences. Now we see that differences can be strengths." When the Venture returned to the council station, they found a very different reception waiting. The docking bay was filled with representatives from all council species. No one kept their distance this time. In the council chamber, Grand Councilor Zex Troll called for silence as Ambassador Hayes and Captain Morgan entered. "The full council has reviewed the events at Pilari," Zex Troll announced. "We have also examined our own fear and prejudice toward humans. Today, we acknowledge our error. A murmur ran through the chamber as Zextrol continued. Humans are indeed different from us. They heal faster, endure more, and adapt quickly. But these traits that we feared as weapons can also be shields. The predator can be a protector. Hayes stepped forward. All we ask is to be judged by our actions, not our biology. Earth wishes to join the galactic community as friends and allies. Zextrol's scales shifted to a warm gold color. The Council has voted unanimously to offer Earth full membership, not as observers, but as equals. And we request something more. Morgan raised an eyebrow. What would that be? A new division within our defense forces, led by humans, to help train and protect worlds that cannot protect themselves. We have named it the Guardian Initiative. As Hayes accepted the formal invitation, Dr. Kelly noticed something remarkable. The aliens no longer moved away when humans approached. Instead, they moved closer, as if seeking their protection. Later, as the venture prepared for its journey home, Captain Morgan stood with her senior officers on the observation deck, watching the stars. They feared us because we were different, she said. Now they value us for the same reason. That's the human way, Hayes replied. Turn weaknesses into strengths, enemies into friends. And the Guardian Initiative? Asked Palmer. Morgan smiled. That's also the human way. We've always been at our best when protecting others. As the venture broke orbit and set course for Earth, word of humanity's new role spread throughout the galaxy. The species that had been feared as predators had become protectors, and across 1,000 worlds, the terrifying moment when humans arrived at the Galactic Council became the beginning of a new era of peace.